Stephen King has published over 60 novels and he writes 2,000 words per day. Brandon Sanderson writes tomes which are as well suited for exercise as they are for entertainment, and he writes around 2,500 words per day. So what sort of person would write 4 times that amount? Well, there are multiple people actually, and today we will be discussing a few of them and I will be joining their ranks. That's right, all of you new subscribers have started to inflate my ego, so I thought it was time to introduce some work-induced self-loathing. I tried to write 10,000 words in a single day. It went, well, you'll see how it went, but first, who are those authors I mentioned who do this on a fairly consistent basis? Our first example is William Faulkner. He published 13 novels, tons of short stories, won a Nobel Prize in literature, and once wrote in a letter to his mother that he writes 10,000 words a day. I find the following quote a really interesting look at how he views the process of writing. All of us have failed to match our dream of perfection, so I rate us on the basis of our splendid failure to do the impossible. That's my first takeaway from studying these prolific authors. Nothing we write, no matter how long we ponder the prose, will be perfect. Mistakes are as much a part of the process as success. I write when the spirit moves me, Faulkner says, which sounds like a pretty laissez-faire approach until you read the follow-up line, and the spirit moves me every day. Good for you, William. I unfortunately had a particularly immobile spirit when I started my 10,000 word day. I have coffee, I have water, and we are beginning to write. It's weird, I've been busy and I've been wanting to write, but now that I've set aside some time to actually do it, I feel like I've lost a lot of that drive. And yet, we will write nonetheless. I'm working on a short story at the moment. I've only just started it. The goal originally was for it to be around 5,000 words, but that would only put me halfway to the goal that I have for this single day. I don't know if maybe I'll try to extend the length of that story or if I will write 2 short stories. I don't know. Hopefully we even get far enough to make that decision. We will see how it goes. While past me is getting started with their writing, let's move on to another author with ludicrous daily word counts. Pirate Abba, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, is the genius behind The Wandering Inn, a web novel with a word count of over 8 million. In just 1 week, she released 7 chapters with a word count of over 100,000. That's around 14,000 words per day. She writes 7 days per week, and she shoots to write a few thousand words a day for 5 of those days. Now, most authors would just call it there, a few thousand words 5 days a week. That's like a novel every month and a half or 2 months. But for Pirate Abba, those are her off days. On the other 2 days, she writes chapters which range from 10,000 to 20,000 plus words. That is absurd. I have wrote through the morning, I just took a lunch break, and I am at the moment at 2,500 words, and that is both good and bad. It is good because it's 2,500 words. That is a lot more than I've typically wrote by 1 o'clock or whatever it is right now. So that is, I'm undeniably happy with that. So that's great, but there are unfortunately a few problems. So first off, I feel like completely creatively drained right now, which is an issue because I am only a quarter of the way to the day's goal. So not ideal. The second issue is that I'm really trying to keep Faulkner's mindset in mind when writing right now, and that I'm not going to be perfect, so I just need to accept that and write. And that's not bad in itself, but the more I start to struggle to write as the day goes on, the more I have to completely turn off that filter, and the more I start to worry about quality. Quantity is good. Getting 10,000 words in a day, awesome. But if I read it the next day and I can't use any of it because I've just dumped nonsense onto my keyboard, then I'm not sure if that's mission accomplished necessarily. For now though, I think I'm going to make another cup of coffee and I'm going to try to write 7,500 more words. Wish me luck. The next author is someone you might not be familiar with if you're a follower of this channel. His name is Brandon Sanderson? Am I reading that right? I know earlier I said Sanderson only writes 2,500 words per day. Only 2,500 words per day. What? And that is his typical goal, but there's a catch. He says he often writes much more than this. In fact, when finishing up the 4th book of the Stormlight Archive, Sanderson posted that he had a 19,000 word day. I'm the son of an accountant. I am an artist with the work ethic of an accountant. Now, this is a statement that might upset people who romanticize the process of writing, but I love the idea behind this. Yes, of course, writing, creating anything has a sort of magic about it, but It's not magical all the time. And in those moments when the magic fades, you still have to write or else you'll never finish anything. When speaking on writer's block, he says the answer is to just write anyway. Write poorly. This aligns with Faulkner's view on writing as well. Flawless writing is not and never will be within our reach. Something real and imperfect will always beat something flawlessly imagined. This was an important idea for me to keep in mind because my own attempt at a 10,000 word day was not going perfect. Very far from perfect. The sun is setting, we are at 6,000 words, and it is becoming very difficult to write. I think of writing as a sort of muscle in that you have to work your way up to heavier workloads if you want to handle them comfortably. And to take that analogy one step further, I feel like I'm about to tear a muscle. It feels almost like I've fallen right back to where I began. At the beginning of the day, it's really hard to write. You have to struggle to get those first few words onto paper. But as the day goes on, if you push through it, you get momentum and writing becomes a lot easier. Eventually though, you run out of stamina and you end up right back where you were, struggling to get words onto paper. The question is, have I hit the end of the road for the day, or is this sort of cyclical? Will I find momentum like I found it this morning? I don't know. I hope so. It has been brought to my attention that I am not the only one struggling and occasionally succeeding at writing. I've been receiving all sorts of comments about the projects you are working on, and I love it. Please, tell me more. Do you have a daily word count goal? What's the most you've ever written in a single day? Let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll throw it into my next video. But back to Faulkner, Pirate Abba, and Sanderson. They all write a ton, they all have their own unique writing process, but what do they share in common that lead to such incredible daily word counts? First off, each author recognizes and accepts off days, but makes up for them with days of insane productivity. This leads to our very important second point. These periods where these authors are churning out 10,000 words a day come in bursts. Even for this anomalous group of extremely prolific writers, this is not a sustainable pace. It's crucial to keep this in mind when setting your own word count goals. If you need more evidence that 10,000 words a day is way too high of a bar to set, look no further than the conclusion of my own 10,000 word day challenge. Well, it is a new day. If you didn't already notice the continuity error and the wardrobe and the bed head that was not there in the last update. I finished my writing last night and it was really late and I was really tired, so I went to sleep instead of filming. What are you gonna do? So it is a new morning, but this is still the conclusion to the 10,000 word day challenge. Did I write 10,000 words in a single day? Well, I am sorry to inform you that around midnight last night, my caffeine reserves ran dry, my persistence met its limit, and I stopped writing at just over 7,000 words. I know, I was going for 10,000. I wanted 10,000. Sanderson's writing 19,000. I can't get 10. The good news is that 7,000 words is by far the most I've ever written in a single day, so that's cool. The bad news, unfortunately, comes in 3 parts. First off, obviously, 7,000 is only 70% of 10,000, so I think that puts me at a C-. Not exactly what you're shooting for, but you know, we'll take it. We didn't fail. Well, we failed, but we didn't fail. The second piece of bad news is that I'm worried what I wrote wasn't good. When word count is your singular focus, you just hit a point where you are spewing out unfiltered strings of words that are technically, probably, potentially sentences. These are not terms I take joy in when using them to describe my own writing, and yet that is where the 10,000 word day challenge has brought us. The final problem is that there are a lot of parts of writing that aren't just writing. For example, that short story I was talking about, I finished it today. That's awesome. But typically after finishing a short story, I would go back and reread what I wrote, clean it up a little bit, check for typos, check for plot holes. But since word count was technically my only goal for the day, that just felt like a waste of time. On top of that, I like to try and read at least 50 pages a day. But again, since word count was my only goal for the day, that felt like a waste of time. Reading is not only one of my favorite things to do just for fun, but it's also a crucial part of being a better writer. But since it didn't contribute directly to my word count, I didn't do it. It felt like a waste of time. Word count is a great goal to keep in mind, but you have to remember it's only a single variable in the very complicated process that is writing. So will I continue to try to write 10,000 words every day? No. Should you try to write 10,000 words a day? Not daily, no, but there was one surprising upside to this experiment that might make you want to give it a shot. So my experiment failed, but what was that one shocking upside that I was talking about? Well, before the challenge, I knew I wasn't writing enough. The 200 or 300 words a day I've been writing is clearly not my maximum potential output. But even though I knew I wasn't writing enough, I didn't know what my limit was. I had my floor, but not my ceiling. Does that make sense? By setting such a high goal for the day, I forced myself to discover that ceiling. 1,000 words in, I was still going strong. 2,000 words, I was still doing all right. But somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 words, I just felt mentally drained. This tells me that to maximize my daily word count while still maintaining quality, I should shoot for just over 2,000 words per day. So maybe that's an experiment you could run. Set aside a day to just write as much as you can. Set a goal like I did, 10, 15, 20,000. It doesn't really matter. All you're doing is writing as much as you can so you can determine how much you should be writing on a daily basis without losing quality in the process. Be sure to subscribe if you'd like more reading and writing content. Good luck on whatever creative endeavor you are currently working on, and thank you for watching.